Catching big perch actually isn't that difficult. Not once you've found them. But it's finding the f***s, isn't it? I'm so excited to be fishing for perch again. It's that time of year. We've got, 5 or 6 months ahead of us. We're just coming into October. So, my official perch season is about to start. And in this video, I'm going to try and cover location and my approach to trying to hunt down those big perch. But before that, how about this from a session the other week? On a crankbait. Whoa, look at him. Wow. What an incredible fish. Yeah, I was using the crankbaits and had to really, I feel. It's got so mild, over 20 degrees some days, and I'm fishing up in the water. Not only that, they've really taken some searching, Trying to find these fish over the last couple of weeks has been hard work. And I'm able to fish the crankbaits fairly quickly to cover a lot of water, and finally found them. And now that I have, maybe I can now go in with a little bit more finesse, with maybe some Squirmz and Neds and the new Reggiez and stuff like that. Hopefully get a few. But so pleased with that. On the quiet, I've worked quite hard to find them. So well pleased with that. £3 10 ounce. Stunning. An awesome perch there caught on crankbaits. Okay, so let's be clear before we get started that this video is not the silver bullet to how to find big perch. This is just my experience. I struggle as much as anyone. It's difficult, and I'm talking about my local rivers. I'm not talking about everyone's rivers, but I do know in my local rivers, it's hard work. It's difficult. You've got to put the time in. You've got to be on the bank a lot, and you've got to be searching. There are no shortcuts, it's just graft. Lots of hours of searching, lots of miles walked, hundreds of casts, and like I say, I think I probably struggle as much as anyone, but that's not going to stop me sharing my thoughts on how to locate big perch. So let's talk about that search, and I think it depends on the time of year and the conditions. At first, let's talk about mild conditions, so I'm talking sort of late autumn, early winter, when you still get some of those mild days. If it is reasonably warm for the time of year, I actually think that works in your favour if you're out there searching. The reason I feel that is because if it's warm, the perch are more active. It feels like, they will strike at a moving lure, which means you can fish with a bit more pace. And if you're fishing with a little bit more pace, it means you can cover more water. So straight away, that kind of makes the search a little bit easier. In those sorts of conditions, I'll fish crankbaits. And that's what you saw me catch that fish on earlier in the video. So straight away, my advice would be to get out there now. Don't wait until it's absolutely bitterly freezing cold. It's only going to get harder. If you get out there now, cover a lot of water. You can, as it's mild, as I say, you can fish with a bit more pace. You've got more chance of stumbling across them. And you never know, if you're lucky, you might find where they're going to hold up for the whole of the winter. That can happen. That's exactly how I caught that perch at the start of the video. I didn't do a lot of recording up until that capture because there was an awful lot of roaming around, lots and lots of fishing without many fish. So I didn't record any of that. But now that I have caught one, I'm going to want to investigate that area in a little bit more detail. I'm going to want to comb the area, change the style of fishing completely, slow everything down, apply a little bit more finesse. So that's where you join me now, after that first fish, and now we're going to go back in and see if we can get some more. So we're out on the bank. Before I talk about how I'm going to fish today, what I want to take you through is, you know, those searching lures that I'm using to cover a lot of water, and you know, the crankbaits that I had that fish on. So, you know, these are the sort of things that I will be wanting to use when I'm covering a lot of water. So there you can see we got shads. There's the nimbles. You know, they've got a great action, even if you do a straight retrieve. Same with some of the rocket crawls. And there's a nimble in a smaller size. You know, that's the rubber that I like to use when I'm moving quick. But then I also use the crankbaits, you know, little hard baits like this that are shallow divers, moving them around quite quickly. And I've got those by Salmo in a couple of different patterns, and they're really good for covering an awful lot of water as well. But now on this session, now that I've caught that fish, I am going to slow everything down, which means fishing with a little bit more finesse, and I'm going to be using these new Reggiez, which I've mentioned in my last video. Really been looking forward to using these, but didn't actually want to use them at this point because I've just been fishing at quite a pace, to be honest, because of the warm weather. But now that I've caught that fish, I'm quite happy to slow everything right down and comb the swims with creature baits like these, and I've really been looking forward to using these. So they come in a range of different colours, the Reggiez. My personal favourite there is the motor oil. You've got some darker ones, Dark Lord, that's called, Toxic Frog. Ale has been catching an awful lot of fish, so I'm looking forward to giving that a good go. And this one, white one, called Silverfish. I think there might be a couple of other colours, but you know, I'm going to mainly be using these ones. I'm going to be using them on Cheb Rigs, that's also available. Korum now sell the Cheb Rigs, you know, the hooks and the Cheb weights. And I'll be fishing these Reggiez on those Cheb Rigs to try and see if we can catch a few more perch from this area. Just to quickly go through the gear I'm using: the So Solid rod, reel with 10-pound braid, coming down to a 6-pound fluorocarbon leader, and I'm fishing the Reggiez on a Cheb rig. Going super slow now. You can see my techniques change completely after having that fish. You know, moving around the river quite quick over the last couple of weeks with crankbaits and stuff. Just trying to find those fish, covering as much water as I can. And now that I've had that one, I've slowed it right down. You know, there's every chance that might have been just a random loner like on its own, but we can't assume that. You know, I'll put in a couple more sessions here and I'll be fishing much slower to see if I can find some more. What a result that is. Oh, you know, not fished this stretch at all either. No, it's not like I'm just going back to old hotspots. Obviously I did check out some of the places where I've had fish in the past over the last couple of weeks, but nothing doing there, you know, so it's not like I'm just continually rinsing one honey hole. You know, I'm searching just like everyone else. Oh, there we go. Yes. Oh, it's quite a nice one as well. Yep. Oh, yes. Cracking. Fantastic. Where it looks like we might have stumbled across some fish here. Yeah, this could be good. Okay, so it's not as big. And we've gone in with a bit more finesse. You'll see I've got the Reggie on there now. You know, used the crankbaits to find them, and now we've slowed everything right down to focus on this area to try and bag a few more. Let's hope we do. So the last fish that I had from here was just down this bank to my right. really close in. It's deeper on this near bank than it is that far bank. And I was edging a Reggie along this near side bank, and it was smacked by a small one, and we landed it, but it was only about a pound. But makes you want to explore it in a little bit more detail. Got the Reggie on, motor oil. Best looking colour to me out of the lot, although you know, there's a lot of colours in there now that I fancy looking at. You know, I quite like the extremes, the dark and the light. So the black one, which is the Dark Lord, Silverfish, which is the virtually white one. In the right conditions, I've found that, you know, very dark lures and very light lures can work quite well. And then in other situations, I've found more natural colours work quite well. Well, this isn't the intended target, obviously. Absolutely walloped it. So this is the second one of these I've hooked since I got here about 20 minutes ago. A cucumber. Right, back you go. Wow. It's got to be said, at the moment it doesn't feel like I've found myself a little honey hole. Let's see what happens as we go into dusk. It's nearly 6 o'clock. Probably got about an hour or so into dusk. Let's hope something happens. It's a perch, it's a good one. Feels like it could be. Come on, be a perch. Yes, it is a perch. And there he is, look. Another good one, Reggie hanging out of his mouth. Yes, stunning, stunning fish. That's just awesome. Love that. Right. So wow, yeah, we've come back to the same spot. And you've guessed it, yeah, we've got another one. We found them with crankbaits. And now we're scouring the area with the Reggies. I'm going to comb this area now over the next few sessions. Hopefully we can get a few of these. Look at that. That is magic. There we go. You know, he's about 43. Another nice fish. So let's take a little bit of a break from the fishing. What I want to talk now is about location when it gets cold. You know, when the grind really starts. Generally speaking, the colder it gets, the slower I'll fish. Now that is very generally. You know, I still mix it up a little bit because you never know. But as it gets bitter, they aren't as active. They're not chasing the lures like they were, and you probably will have to slow things down. Of course, that makes the hunt a little bit more difficult. You can't cover as much area, you know, you're not going to cover as much water. And of course, that's only going to make things more difficult. So now is maybe the time to talk about those areas that you might want to focus on or try and target. A couple of things that haven't worked for me particularly well. You know, people saying things like perch like snags, fish snags. Well, you know, the rivers that I fish, you've got snags everywhere. You know, they pretty much line the banks. So it doesn't really narrow things down much. The other thing that's not really helped or hasn't worked is, you know, a lot of anglers saying, you know, lock gates. We know they like structures, but lock gates have never really worked for me. And this idea of drop shotting around the lock gates and stuff like that, it's just something that hasn't really worked for me. I've picked up small fish doing that, but I've not really ever had any big fish. So let's talk about things that have worked for me in the past. I think where two rivers join, if you have a look on your Google Maps or wherever, look for where two rivers come together, maybe even they create a crease, maybe fish that crease, that's worked for me. And certainly near whirlpools or moving water, that's worked very well for me as well. But not in the fast water, you want to be fishing the slacks just off the fast water. That's worked really well for me as well. Of course, you probably know this one, boats. They love boats, especially when it gets really, really cold. I don't know if it's because, you know, barges are radiating heat underneath it or whether they just like the cover. But, you know, in and around boats, marinas, you know, places like that, again, just natural big perch holding areas. Bait fish, look for bait fish. When it gets really, really cold, they shoal up. You know, you'll get balls of bait fish. You know, if you see bait fish when it's warm, it doesn't mean too much because they're so spread out, you know. But in the winter, if you find the bait fish, they're balled up, they're shoaled up, and you can be sure that the big perch probably won't be too far away. And finally, think outside the box a bit. Don't fish where everyone else is fishing. You know, they don't like the pressure, just like any fish. So, you know, try and find your own little holes, your own little nooks and crannies. And the good thing about that is if you do find them in an area where no one really fishes for them, you really have got more to yourself. Right, let's crack on with the fishing, see if we can catch some more. That's got to be a pike. I haven't got something decent now. That one, no, it's a big perch. I was doing what you're not supposed to do with these Reggiez then. Oh, it feels like a really good one. Oh my God. Oh, come on. Oh, come on, come on, come on, come on. Oh, it's a big one. Oh, it's a real big one. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Yes, yes. Whoa. Look at that. There's another one. This time on motor oil. We're really getting amongst them now. What I'm going to do, I'm going to keep them in the edge. This is why we got the tilter net. He's all right there for a second. I'm going to scan the area to see if there's more around. What I've decided to try, purely because it's warm, is moving them a bit quicker through the water. I know this isn't normally the way with the Reggie. I know it's supposed to be bumped along the bottom. They're very, very active still. It's very warm. It's not winter. So why not? You know, why not try it? If you've been in a swim, you've gone slow, you've bumped it around, and nothing's doing, what harm can it do to zip it about a bit before you leave to go on to the next swim? This is what can happen, you see. Been searching and searching. You know, if you're out there and you're searching for perch, I know how that feels, but this is what can happen eventually. I've clearly landed on some fish now after searching for days and weeks and hours and hours and hours and God knows how many casts, and I've obviously found some. That's what it took. That is the motor oil, Reggie and motor oil. There you go. Just weighed this one. What a lovely fish. He's just over 2.5 pounds, £2.9, 44 centimetres long. I think we should get him back and see if we can get another bigger one. So that's another perch video done. I don't claim to be an authority on this stuff, and like I said a couple of times, when it comes to locating big perch, it is tricky, it is difficult, and you know, we all struggle a bit, but that's my take on location. I hope it's helped someone. There are some links down in the description to a few of the bits and bobs that I've used in this video, including the lures that I use for searching, and of course the Reggiez. We've just gone past the 1st of October, so I think in the next video I might be out lure fishing for pike. If you enjoyed the video, then please like and subscribe and all that stuff. Until the next one, look after yourselves and be lucky.